Hi, I'm joined here by Julia Moller of UD's women's rowing team. Julia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we're very glad to have you. First, can you give us a brief bio of, who you are, your name, year, major, where you're from, all that good stuff?
My name is Julia Moller. I'm a marketing major here, and I'm from Morristown, New Jersey.
Awesome. So you obviously on the rowing team. Can you tell us what type of boat and what seat you row? And maybe explain what those things mean for our viewers who are unfamiliar.
Yeah, so I row mostly in eights, which is 8 rowers and 1 coxswain. The coxswain steers the boat. And then sometimes in 4s, which is 4 people and a coxswain. And in those boats, in 8s, I'm usually 6 or 4 seat.
Awesome. So certain boats in rowing, sometimes it's 2 oars, sometimes it's 1. So your type of boat, is that 1 oar or 2?
It's 1 oar, called sweeping. 2 oars is called sculling, but not seen as much in college rowing, more high school.
Awesome. And so you said you row multiple different types of seats. Which spot is your favorite?
I would say 6 seat is my favorite because I like being in stern 4, which is like the first 4 people in the boat. The second 4 people is bow 4, and 6 seat is just closer to stroke seat, who sets the rhythm of the boat, and the coxswain. So I like being up in 6 seat for sure.
Awesome. And how long have you been rowing?
I've been rowing for 6 years. I started my freshman year of high school.
Wow. And what inspired you to start rowing?
So I did gymnastics for like 10 years before I started rowing, and then once I was kind of over that, a couple of my friends were rowers, and they were like, you should join, and I was like, sure, I'll try it, and then kind of from there, it just took off.
Yeah. Do you have any rowing role models? So that's maybe any Olympians or even just people on your team?
I would say mostly my teammates, specifically Grace Buss, Maddie Stack, and then a shout out to my high school coach, Harry Carroll. He made me into the rower I am today for sure.
Awesome. And what has rowing meant to you?
Rowing has meant a lot to me. It's where I've made many of my lifelong best friends, and it's also where I've learned to push myself to my limits. It's not easy, and it's definitely meant a lot to me over the past few years for sure.
That's awesome. So in the fall, the rowing team, they only rowed 1 regatta in the fall. That was on October 28th. Were you there? And if you were, how did it go?
I was there. It was our first race under our new coaching staff. So that was super exciting. It definitely gave us an opportunity to show how fast we will be in the spring.
Yeah. So it sounds like you do plan to row in the spring. So out of the fall and the spring, which do you prefer? Because it's 2 very different types of races.
Yes, 2 very different. In the fall, we race either 5Ks or 6Ks. And in the spring, it's 2Ks, so a little bit of shorter races, more sprinting races. And the spring is definitely more exciting, going head-to-head next to each other instead of head races, which are you just go one at a time, which is in the fall. So spring is definitely more exciting.
Absolutely. What has been your favorite memory from all of your time rowing?
My senior year, I raced in youth nationals down in Sarasota, Florida, and my boat ended up being 12th in the country in the women's youth 8. So that was super exciting.
Wow.
Sure.
Definitely. And what would be your advice for anyone who wants to try rowing? Because, it's not very common, and the idea of it can be very daunting. I feel like everybody talks about how hard it is. It can be very difficult. So what would be your advice?
My advice would be to, if you're gonna do it, commit yourself to the sport, and you can do great things. Don't let your mind, and your thoughts and your doubts hold you back from how fast you can really be. And you'll get out of it as much as you put in.
Wow, I love that. Well, that's all the questions I have for you. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Now let's see Marnie's running interview with Andrea.